Hey, this is Steve in Dallas, Texas. It's Saturday morning, my friend, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Well, good morning. This is Stan coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. And today, we got some things to discuss. Programming, making artistic compromises, writer's block, career unsustainability, and 100% automation, all on Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Belmont Shore neighborhood of Long Beach, California. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
Plus one.
Plus one.
That's
Hey,
right.
I like that. Lumen Brothers Plus.
Absolutely. That's right. Clayton could be our Robin to our Batmans, like Batman and Robin.
He could be our standby guy.
That's
I
right.
guess, maybe.
How much do you charge, Clayton? How much?
I got to think about that. No, I'll get
He's
back
a good
to you.
negotiator. Look at that.
So welcome everyone to episode 314. And today we have a special guest. His name is Clayton, and he's from Calabasas,
Hello.
California. And he wrote us a question, and we said, hey, Clayton, want to ask it on the show? And he said, absolutely. He jumped right at it. So then we asked, hey, Clayton, after you ask your question, why don't you just stick around and hang out and give us your points of view about what we talk about? We talked about that on the show last week, and Clayton said, sure. Clayton, did you listen to the show last week?
I did, actually. It was funny. I was listening through it, and I was like, oh, there's that shout out. It was like, we got a question from this high schooler. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's me.
That could be our new category. Not dead and under 30.
Look, I want to say something. We said something on the show, on the anniversary, that David and I tried this idea, encouraging people to come on the show and ask a question, and it didn't work. Like, nobody was doing it. So I want to take this opportunity to thank Clayton, because he's got the guts to come on and face us. So what's wrong with the rest of you out there? Come on, get some gumption. Come on the show. We love you. We don't bite. Come on. Clayton's a gutsy guy, and I'm glad he's here.
He's a great guy.
Thanks, guys.
It's hard to believe that you're in high school.
He's much more mature than he appears.
He's more mature than some of my students.
He's more mature than me.
That's for sure.
The determining factor there is, okay, technically I did an extra year of kindergarten. I did TK, right? So I'm technically a grade above, but you know what? We're fudging the line a little bit.
He's got a good sense of humor. Bring this kid back.
Sure,
I like
come on
him.
back. Would you like to be a Lumen brother?
Wait a minute.
We're looking to replace Stan with someone younger.
I think Clayton should be applying for the Light Talk scholarship as soon as I set it up. And you're not going to get rid of me until that sucker gets going.
Well, that will be another 7 years. Anyway, we're going to start off the show today with Clayton's question. So, Clayton, give us your best shot.
All right, here's my question. Let's see if I can read right. All right. Okay, so my future is to primarily design, and I'm off an assistant lighting designer and programmer for school. What are your thoughts on programming skills for the design team in the professional world where there is a programmer on the show, or sometimes multiple programmers on the show? Does it add value to know? Like, often, I'll have situations where I'm programming for my designer, and we're working together, and he'll say, let me do this. And he steps on the board and, just build something. Does that give value, or what's that like? Cause I've been a programmer, but I haven't worked with a programmer. So that's my question.
First of all, it's really important to train students how to be designers and programmers. And there are several reasons for this. Obviously, you learn the tools by being a programmer. You learn the consoles, you learn what the lights can do, and all that is really super important because you learn how to hold your paintbrush. Second, it's important to learn the language of the programmer. And third, it makes you much more marketable to be a programmer designer.
Clayton's like 7 years old, so he's got a good 15 or 20 years before.
Come on, Clayton, give this up. What are you, about 17 now?
No, six. Okay,
Six.
so
He's
16 going on 17.
Hey, that's a
16
solid
going
answer.
on 17.
16 going on 17.
Your fun fact is that I actually am eligible because I was late to the game on the driver's license, but I can take my driver's license test in 3
Wow,
weeks. So
sweet.
everybody be fearful. I'm on the road in 3
In
weeks.
California.
Well, there you go then. In 3 weeks, you're going to have your van like Amy Deluxe driving around the country in the summer working on shows. And realistically, at the age of 17, it could be 10 years, 15 years before a theater is going to hire you and provide you with a programmer. You're going to have to be doing a lot of work in the trenches yourself while you finish secondary school and in college, summer stock theater. So why would you not want to know how to program? I mean, David's right about all the benefits, but on top of that, you're simply making yourself a better person to hire at some summer stock theater somewhere. I just did a show, and I had a pretty good programmer on it, and there was a second programmer in the building who was pretty darn good too. And we had a problem on the console. And it took two really experienced programmers working together. I would say it was less than 20 minutes, but both of them were scratching their heads a little bit, and both of them were comparing notes, and they were sharing information back and forth, and they solved the problem. They completely solved the problem. So you're also that person, the more experienced you are, even if you do have a good programmer. Maybe you've got a little scrap of information that he or she doesn't have, and you're that problem solver. I think the only issue is, you have to be careful not to tell the programmer how to do their job. You have to be content when you're programming not to have someone tell you how to do the job. So I think you're on the right road here. I think the more you learn about programming, and there are 3 or 4 consoles out there, and we all know what they are, if you can become a little bit more versatile in each one of those, whether it's at the high school, the local church, or, in a few years, maybe you can go down to the rock and roll bar where David's playing and a program like Q's for him. But the more you know about these consoles, you're just more valuable, and you're going to be a better designer. Stan?
I think my brothers nailed it, and I knew they would. So I would just put it this way to be a little bit humorous. Does Michelangelo know how to use a chisel? Does Monet know how to use a brush? Okay. Does Stevie Wonder know how an organ works or a piano? I think it's elitist not to. You're a better designer if you can program, and you're a better programmer if you understand design. I think they're complementary. You think those Renaissance artists didn't know how the tools worked? Shoot, they invented new tools, right, to make better art, and vice versa. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's arts and engineering are joined at the hip, and go for it.
Yeah, I mean that's totally true. That was great, guys. I definitely think, especially like if you're speaking to a programmer or you're speaking to another designer, just like knowing that language. Like there are things that I do where we almost always, like all of us, use like the Roscoe color sets, the default color sets, like in EOS that I primarily program on, and just being able to be like, it's 5/05 instead of just being like, find me this Roscoe color, is better, like knowing what the libraries are and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's great.
There's no such thing as too much information. I'll just tell a side story. I still have an open graduate slot. You're not ready for that yet, okay? But I have an open slot still. And this young man emails me. He's at the university where I teach, but he's an undergrad. And I believe that his undergraduate major was computer science. And he took about 3 or 4 lighting courses because he likes it. I've never met him. And he says, he was going to do a lighting minor, but he was too late. And he goes, can I come to grad school? Okay. Now, he's not going to have exactly the right prep that I would look for, but I'm meeting with this guy this week. If he's as smart as most of the undergrads in my institution are, and he's got the passion for it, and he's got a computer background, the door is open. Come on in.
Well, Stan, you have the next question.
So Mildred in Missouri asks, at what point will schools only have automation? Well, I deal with this in my consultancy, so it's a good question. Soon. And in some cases, unless the school budget is really, really thin, we put complete automated rigs even in high schools. And we do that for a couple of reasons. One, it's less infrastructure if it's a new space. It's less power consumption if it's an old space. It's less people going up on ladders all the time. It's how did Bob Bonhart? Yes, Swiss Army knife. Would you rather have a Swiss Army knife or just a whole package of Bowie knives? You just need less Swiss Army knives than you. So yes, as the I think I can only predict, and Steve might weigh in on this. As the prices come down, as there's more competition, as they become easier to acquire, as they have longer stability. So I don't know exactly when, but I think we are moving there. And why wouldn't you, right? I mean, that's the question. Why would you get everything becomes thinner, leaner, meaner, more efficient? So I think as soon as possible, and I think that's already happening.
I think if you're a school, and I'm going to limit this to college, I think if you're a school, you have to go with what's happening in the industry. And the more you resist it and the more you say, well, we'll have X of this and X conventionals, you're just not moving forward. Do you want your program to be, the best program in the eastern part of your state? Or do you want to have a national presence? And if you want a national presence, at the end of the day, you're going to have a very good facility to support the students' work. And if they don't have that equipment, you're making them kind of stand third or fourth in line in the job line because they just won't have the experience. They just won't have the ability to work with it or think about it. A lot of students coming into college think of moving lights as these kind of specials. They're having a hard time thinking about where do I strategically place things? How do I use the light to its full potential? If you've only got a couple lights, that's going to be reinforced. They're not going to be able to think of it as a full palette or a full inventory of possibilities. So I think I'm planning on taking one of our theaters 100% automated within 3 years. And the electricians and everybody in the building is supportive, and it's just the type of work we're doing. And we're going to go that direction with it. The other two theaters, I'll keep conventionals in with some moving lights. My conventionals will be LED, but in one theater, we're committing. We're committing to about 80 moving lights and calling it a day in there and seeing what we can do.
Not all schools are going to be able to do this, certainly not in a few years, like Stan says, because not every school has the money to do this. Both Stan and Steve work at very, very wealthy schools. Steve works at a wealthy private university. Stan works in a Research One university, state school, but there's a lot of money there. For a lot of schools, and a lot of state schools, that money's just not there. Schools in small towns, it's not there. So there are going to be a lot of students not being able to get the full benefit of working with automated lights.
I think the market takes care of it. The prices will continue to fall.
I don't know, Stan. They really haven't fallen that much. I mean, look at like your best budget moving light, a good light that you don't have to pay a lot of money for. It's going to be around $5,000. You buy about 10 of those, that's $50,000 right there. A lot of schools just can't afford that.
Well, I am not fully automated, and at the university where I teach. But the specification that we do in high schools, now granted, we're working in Orlando, which has a pretty wealthy school district. If I was working in the middle of, I don't know, Idaho, in a small high school with a very small budget, probably not. But I don't know. It depends on the quality and there's so many factors. You do 2 shows a year. What's the wear and tear on the fixture? Could you go with a lower tier manufacturer? Is it going to be good enough for that venue? There's just a lot of different things to think about, and every situation is unique. It's difficult to make a general answer. We're working in Wyoming right now. That's a very different economy, right, than Florida or Texas. Or Texas, you could be in Dallas like Steve, or you can be in Laredo, which I imagine is a very different.
Well, let me ask a question. So if, the Margot Jones space here, it's our black box space. It's 64 by 64 with an 18-foot high grid. Without being extreme on either end, how many moving lights, not necessarily what kind, but how many moving lights would you like to have in there? Yeah, to make that space function.
No fewer than 16 or 20.
Yeah, I'm putting 20 in there.
Well, that's good.
And that seems like that's a really good number for that space.
Well, if each fixture costs $5,000, that's $100,000. That's a lot of money for a lot of schools in this country.
The way I crunch that is, so let's do that. If you did that math, and then you said, okay, I'm going to want the same capabilities that I'm going to get with I think the number's right, Steve. 20 is beautiful for that. I have a similar size space, and I can't imagine us needing more than 20 movers to do everything we do. And if I had to say, okay, I'm not going to do movers, I'm going to do it all with conventional LED, okay, what's that going to cost me? And what's the difference? And what am I sacrificing? Right? And what am I going to spend on gobos and God knows? And I mean, I don't know. I think when you really sit down and do the analysis, the difference is not that significant. Granted, if the school doesn't have it, it doesn't have it, right? You can't get blood from a stone. But if there's a cost-benefit analysis, I think you end up wanting to be on that side of the fence.
Well, I have to say we have to stop thinking about lots of lights.
Right.
So again, in that 64 by 64 space, what is adequate?
Right.
What if I put in 8 moving lights and 48 LED fixtures? That's a lot of serious firepower in a space that size. Yeah.
That's still a lot of money. I'm talking lots of money here. A lot of schools don't have that
Agreed.
money.
You know, let's say a couple $1,000s for each light. Yeah, you're into almost 100,000 there.
And still talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, what's a Lester 3 going to run you?
We don't have those
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. But what is the alternative?
The alternative is to keep using some of those old incandescent lights, and eventually those lamps will burn out, and eventually you will be able to buy those lamps to replace them, and no one's going to care. Because the state of the arts in this country, and arts education, is a disaster. No one is throwing money into the arts education anymore, especially in state schools. It's a real shame, but that is what's going on right now. This is what's been going on in my school, I'm telling you. So I don't think it's going to be in the next 3, 4, 5, or 6 years.
Well, you haven't read about that Inflation Reduction Act and the trillions of dollars that are flowing to states?
But I don't think those are going to theater programs. That's the only problem.
We've seen a huge increase in business for schools.
Yeah, well, it's not happening here. That's all I can tell you.
Well, you're in California.
Yeah, I know.
I'm in Florida.
We are in California.
We're hanging on here in the Golden State.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's sunny, a little windy, but it's
nice,
gorgeous.
It's nice here too today. But,
but you have those flying cockroaches. You can have them.
Not at my place.
Yeah, right. You have alligators. All right, who has the next question?
That would be you, David. I think you have the next question.
Oh, really? Do I have it? Okay, here we go. All right, you're going to love this, Stan, because this is Tom from Nebraska. That's your old stomping grounds, I believe.
No, Brooklyn.
Your hometown,
Brooklyn,
right?
Smile when you say it.
Yeah, but you worked in Nebraska for a while, right?
7 years.
Yeah, that's you and your friend here at the president of the
Well, it's
University
like a
of Florida.
lifetime.
Right.
Benny.
The big
In
Nebraska.
Nebraska, it is like a lifetime.
Oh,
That's true.
God, you can have it. Okay, so Tom from Nebraska asks, I listened to your finance episode a couple of weeks ago, and it was excellent. Well, thank you, Tom. However, you all say that being a professional lighting designer is unsustainable. If that's the case, then why do you train students for an unsustainable career?
I don't.
Tom, I'm trying to train designers to do a lot of different things. So what I think is unsustainable is a lighting design career in one area. So I think you've got to knock on every door. You've got to bring something to everything.
Well, maybe Tom missed that part of the show because we all talked about training students in a wide diversity of skills so that they have choices and it makes them more marketable. But, I'm going to blame this on Stan because Stan was talking about Broadway designers.
Well, Ethan's comment maybe.
That's right. Ethan said that and Stan was following up on that.
As
and
a stage lighting designer only.
Exactly. As a stage lighting designer only.
That's what we're saying.
Right. Absolutely.
Here's the problem. The dirty little secret that nobody wants to tell. Okay, that the lighting designer faculty or the lighting design people at most universities is not there to train lighting designers for a sustainable career. The dirty little secret is what they're there to do is to put light on actors and dancers so the performers can do their thing and have their ego stroke and think that they're wonderful and service those productions. If these programs were truly organized in such a way that the role was to train people for the lighting industry, and as my brothers have said, which is a wide berth of things you could do, we would be training you for sustainable careers. But because our wagon, if you will, is hitched to theater and dance and opera, we can't. A lot of the faculty are stuck in having to support that. And all people like us, and back to my IES webinar that I did in the fall, which was all about that, is how do we break that wall? How do we create programs that train people in lighting for a world that is hungry for lighting designers who are pinch hitters, double hitters, triple hitters, right? Can do all the things that David's mentioning, and video and sound, and a little of this and that. So that is a structural issue in higher education, and that's the dirty little secret.
That's excellent, Stan, and I totally agree with you. But, I have a question for Clayton, because I think this would be a good moment to get his feedback on this. You're going to be graduating in a few years, and then you're going to be going into a community college, or you can go into a university, maybe even graduate school. What type of training do you hope for? What will you be looking for when you get out? I know it's hard now, but I just want to know what your thoughts are.
I mean, I've been working. I would say a lot of it is on the job training in whatever it is. Like, I know that's a big part of it. I've been pretty lucky. I've been working on different tech for like a really long time in different community theaters. And I think it was like 9 or something. But when I do that, that's really fun. It's about being with people. Like, it's the people skills, because those go exponentially far. And so people skills and just being ready for all the opportunities that arise, like, because light, it is not a one-dimensional thing. So that's being able to, like you guys were saying back in that other episode, it's kind of not, are you shaping it for one thing? It's how are you using your knowledge of shaping the light to better it, whether it's architectural, opera, theater, concerts, all that kind of stuff. And maybe just showing students that you can apply these concepts everywhere. It's not just, I have an actor on a stage, like you guys were saying. I mean, you guys are covering it great. It's just showing people how to expand their horizons, really.
Yep, that's Amen. A really good answer.
Amen. Yeah.
A good answer.
Bravo.
I don't know that a career as an accountant is sustainable. I don't know that a career as a lawyer is sustainable. I don't know a career as a mechanic is sustainable. I don't know of anything that's sustainable unless you go out and you create a better mousetrap and you pull those people to your garage because you're the best mechanic in the town. You pull those people to your law office or your dental office or your accounting firm. I think people who are looking toward the future as opposed to what was being done 5 years ago, and I think a lot of schools are trying to figure that out right now. I think they're trying to figure that out with media and projection. I think they're desperately trying to figure it out. I think, for me, sustainability. I think sustainability will come when my program is fully integrated into engineering and art and gaming. I think there's a lot of components that we have to figure out to make our students have sustainable careers and bring a lot, I'm talking about lighting designers now, and bring a lot more to the table than just I can program a grand MA.
I do want to say one more thing about this, and it's really important. No matter how much we say about how it's important to diversify, which we all believe in, what I don't want to do is to rain on the parade of someone who has a dream, because dreams are so important. And if you have the dream and have the wish and desire to do Broadway, then by all means pursue it. Don't let what we say discourage you, because let me tell you something, it is possible. People have done it and they do it every single day. So if you really have that desire to do it, go ahead and do it and pursue your dream, because that is really the most important thing.
I dare say that a couple days ago, we can always ask Mark Stanley, but I bet a couple days ago there were 60 of those people at the Hemsley Awards, and they are shooting for the stars, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I want to chime in on this. I think David is absolutely right. When we say that, that does not mean to discount the student who has come to me and say, that's my dream. So it's not to discount people who say, that's really what I want. I totally appreciate what David is saying. It's not, I think that that's a well-balanced response. And I don't think we should be saying, don't shoot for your dreams. If that's what you want, and I've had students come to me, that's what I'm like, hey, well, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. Absolutely. And we've had success. And I know Steve has too. I know David has. You guys are listening to Light Talk. And today, Light Talk is sponsored by...
Well, it's Better Than Nothing Industries. Lost paperwork can be scary and unsettling. Remaining calm will help you make the best decisions to get your beloved light plot back home safely. Easier said than done. But if you do lose paperwork, what can you do? Up until now, you were just out of luck. That is where Better Than Nothing Industries steps in with the LD Paperwork Microchip. That's right. Now you can get chip just like your favorite pet. The LD Paperwork Microchip is a database, not only of your current projects, but of your life's work, embedded into your body that can be accessed via a wireless interface that uploads your Vectorworks file as you draft.
Right.
Sounds a little crazy at first, but let me give you 3 reasons why you might want the LD Paperwork Microchip. Number 1, your past light plots can get lost. Don't think it will never happen to your paperwork. USITT reports that 1 in 3 light plots will go missing at some point in your lifetime. Unlike a flat file, which can easily get lost in a move, burst into flame, or be tossed into the garage by a loved one, the LD Paperwork Microchip is a safe and reliable way to retrieve vital information about your current and past master works. Number 2, your plot may be stolen. Let me share the story of a rock and roll light plot that we will call Waffles, who was stolen and presented by a worthless scab designer to a band as his own creative work. When the original designer finally tracked Waffles down, the thief denied it was a stolen design. The LD Paperwork Microchip cleared up the dispute with a quick scan. There, embedded into my thigh, that's me, my thigh was a copy of Waffles, including follow spot color, and shortly thereafter, Waffles was back at home, safe and sound. And finally, number 3. What if something happens to you? Maybe you get hit by a car while walking to the theater. You are severely injured. You have no memory of what you were doing, but a scan of the LD Paperwork Microchip, once you get to the hospital, allows the producer to download the information and hire your replacement to execute the design. The show must go on, even if you don't. The LD Paperwork Microchip. It's not perfect, but hey, it's better than nothing.
That is one of the best sponsors I have heard in a long time.
That was great. I'm going to be honest. Do you really want your Vectorworks files to be embedded in your body?
In my vibe. It's right there. It's right there.
Like, I can have all the lacy drives in the world here, but
Vectorworks has viruses. I'll take AutoCAD.
Oh my God!
I feel like I'm mad enough at Vectorworks sometimes. I don't want it to seep in my veins.
I hear you, Clayton. That's why I'm saying AutoCAD, WYSIWYG. Yeah, fine. Not Vectorworks.
Vectorworks is like I work with Vectorworks, and it's like going through a divorce. No, it's not me. It's you. I feel that conversation goes on all the time.
Yeah.
And now back to Light Talk.
Well, the sound of those rabid monkeys tells us that once again it's time for Let's Talk About. And today's Let's Talk About is all about compromising your artistic integrity. Hey, Stan, why don't you tell us a little bit about this subject?
Well, it came about because, I have some wonderful, I would call them beautifully ripened lighting designers who are ready to leave the campus and enter the world, and they're all just as sharp and shiny and as smart and ready as they could be. And one of them, I'm not going to mention any names, I mean, they'll know who they are, came to me and we were discussing their future. And I tried to do a little career connectivity at the end, and as they're leaving. And he said, I don't want to do stage lighting anymore. And I was like, what? And why? And here's what they said. I thought it was really interesting and challenging. I have visions in my head of what I want to do. It's really clear to me. This is a very articulate student, great graphics, really clear conceptual thinker, really quite an artist. And he said, I'm never going to get it. I go into tech. There's going to be a time clock. There's going to be other issues. I'm going to get as far as I can go. And I get good work, and they do, but it's never really going to match what I have in my head. That was one piece of the conversation, the compromise. And the other piece was sort of the life-work balance question. The student doesn't want to work these long hours. They want to have a balanced life. They want to have a family. So there were those two pieces, and they're going to go into a related, I'm not going to get specific, but they're already on track. They're moving to a big city. They're already in the door at a major firm for coffee.
In architecture, right?
I'm not going to say that. Okay. It's more than architecture. And let's say it's more than architecture. There's multiple avenues in that particular place. Okay. So that was just sort of gave me some pause. But I said, what about like light art? Do you really want to be like a Dan Flavin or a Janet Eichelman, somebody who works in a studio and independently and works with light as a medium? And they said, yeah, I could do that too. But it was really about recognizing the level of imagined art in their head to actually achieving it was too much of a compromise for the integrity of this artist's soul. So I put that out there as a conversation.
Clayton, what do you think of this compromising?
No, I mean, I think compromise is super important. I definitely echo off the, in all situations, I feel like it's not just compromise with the people around you. It's almost compromise with yourself. Like you were saying the exact thing. I've gone through that a million times where I'll say, all right, it looks pretty good. If I added this one cue, if I added this one texture, this one, I don't know, animation wheel, throw something out, right? Maybe it would make it that much better. But then it's saying to yourself, well, do I really need to record that? Like, do I need to make it 125 cues instead of 124? It's compromise with yourself. And then also, obviously, having other people say, hey, I like it this way. And you go, okay, I'll make the change, And being a constructive member of the team, because that's obviously you're trying to make it look beautiful, but you're trying to cater to the needs of a director, of the wants of a stage manager. It really is a fine balance, and it's walking that is really hard. And in at least my experience so far, it's a constant balance. Not that it makes it bad, it just makes it part of the job,
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the point. That's the student's point. Is and they came to the conclusion that is the reality of it, Clayton. You say it so well, but for that particular person, they had come to the conclusion that's not what they wanted in their life.
They shouldn't be in the theater then. It's that simple. A lot of students, they discover this sooner or later, but the sooner the better. We've all had students like that, and unfortunately, it takes a while sometimes, and it's just not working because it's not about you. It's about the team, and that's really the important thing. And you can't be a team player and understand that creation in the theater is a company matter. It's all about the company of players and designers and artists, and everyone is creating this incredible work of art. It's not just about you. And the bottom line is that the director is the one who has the final decisions. And a lot of people can't deal with that, so then you shouldn't be a theater artist. You should be a sculptor or a painter, some sort of studio artist, a light artist, whatever. But I would even say that your student may come up with a surprise, because even if they're working in architecture or in some large event company or whatever, they're going to have to compromise as well. That's just the way it is. Okay, there's compromise everywhere. Unless you're a sculptor or studio
Right.
or independently wealthy, you don't have to compromise then. But everything else in life, you do have to compromise. Compromise can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's the same word, but could have two different feelings to it. I always look at compromise as a good thing. As it's rare that I ever say I'm compromising my artistic integrity because I trust my colleagues. I trust my partners. These are the people. This is why I've been in bands. This is why I've been doing theater. It's because this is what really turns me on. This is good compromise.
Just to qualify, in this particular case, this is not a student who fits the category that David described. This is who's a fantastic collaborator, a total team player, has just made the decision that he's going to take these theater skills, which are fantastic skills, and he's good at it. There's no reason he wouldn't be successful. He's just making a different choice.
Well, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about the student who feels that their ideas are kind of being compromised, because that's the problem. A lot of people have this issue. They think that they're uber designer, they're
not
artists.
Theater artists. I would agree with you.
They're not theater artists if they can't be team players.
Right. And I think that it takes a certain personality who enjoys the team more than the I to be in the theater. I agree with you. But this person could do both.
Also, people need to understand the power of synergy and how powerful that is. Because to me, that's the most incredible turn on, is when you're working on a piece of art, all of you are working on, and you have this energy that's created.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I think some of my best work has been when there's a lot of cooks involved in the pot. I've got a choreographer who's got strong ideas. I've got an artistic director who has a strong ideas design team. And we're all just throwing ideas out and working on them together. And, that can be challenging simply because if you are not very secure in yourself, you start thinking, well, I'm just not doing anything except programming a light board. I'm just doing what I'm being told to do. And maybe that's a direction you can go. But I think collaboration is at the heart of the work. I think, if you want to be a novelist, work by yourself. But even on that level, you still have an editor who's looking at your work and making suggestions on it. There's a lot of different ways that we can work as visual artists. The way I like to work is in a collaborative way. And when I'm not in a collaborative situation, it's very difficult because, you don't know what's good or bad or what's working, or if the director's just saying, something else, maybe more blue light. I want someone to go in there at the very beginning and we come together on the script and why we're doing it and why it's important and why it has to be done right now or what this dance is doing, and work from that. That's the foundation that I work from. Otherwise, I'm just programming cues. If I'm working by myself and going, I like that. It's like that 125th cue. Am I putting the effect in the show because the show really needs it, or am I putting the effect in the show because I really need it?
Yeah, Steve, those kinds of collaboration that you described and that synergy that David mentioned, they are wonderful. But there's also and you got to love those. That's why I think people get addicted to it. But then they're the ones where they're just anxiety ridden, and not everybody wants to push through.
David is the poster boy for this. It is why you have a long career and you build relationships with people that you really enjoy spending time with, and you really enjoy how they view art.
If you can get it.
Yeah. And I just want to say something here, and this is sort of a wake-up call for Clayton, because Clayton, you're now going to be spending, the next, how many years in school? Like 6 or 8 years?
Yeah, what is it?
Like that?
At least 6?
Yeah, if you go to grad school, right?
At least 6.
Right, yeah. But understand that, and this is something that we all deal with because we're all teachers in theater departments, and it's the nature of academia, unfortunately. Maybe the reason why this student wants to change and is questioning the idea about a lack of collaboration, because maybe he's not working with real directors. Maybe he's working with acting teachers,
Academics. Yeah.
drawing academics who don't have careers, who don't know how to direct, and they don't know how to work with a team, do not know how to create that synergy amongst a team, a production team. And, lip service is great, but when it comes down to it, they're going to treat you like a student, and probably bully you around. And that's the worst type of training you can have. And I just thank God that I've been fortunate that I've worked in universities that have hired professional directors for student shows. So they learn from professionals who know how to build teams. So maybe that's why Stan's students having these issues right now.
I don't know if that's the case. Some of that might be part of it, but also sometimes when you're working with all professionals, there's no learning curve. You're just there to create. Nobody's learning their job. They all know their job. You're learning about the work, and your design team and your stage hands, they're not learning their job. They're not in school. They know their job. But when you're designing in an academic setting, as you rightly point out, the director or the choreographer may be was something else and then came to school, and everybody else working on their production is learning. So you don't have a crew of competent, knowledgeable people. So it's very, and you're right that student may have not had that experience, which is quite different. Yeah, quite different.
But it all begins with the director, okay? It all begins and ends with the director.
Yeah, absolutely.
If your director doesn't know how to direct, the whole production is for caca.
No, I totally agree. that is another dirty secret. That most schools, that's another dirty secret.
Yeah.
That most schools.
When I used to recruit, I used to tell the students who I was recruiting, do you want to go to that school that you have a bunch of acting teachers directing, or do you want to come to my school where you have professionals from LA directing you?
That's right. I think that's a very strong point.
And they came not because of the money, because we didn't have any money, but they came because we had professional directors directing our shows.
Huge
difference. That's a big difference. Yeah. Okay. So Steve has the last question of the day.
And it comes from Cameron on the West Coast. And he writes, I'm primarily done with my concert programming, but having a bit of writer's block in ending on a strong note. I know I'm mainly getting in my head, but the intrusive thoughts of not being good enough, or is this the strongest choice, still creep in. Wanted to know if you guys have encountered a writer's block in your design process and how you overcame it. All right. So, short answer. Let's talk about song structure 101. You have an intro, a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. It's kind of how it works. The bridge is your friend. And I'm getting to your ending. The bridge is the musical passage that connects two sections of a song. For example, the bridge is going to connect a verse to a chorus. It can also sit between the last two chorus sections and add variation. A bridge is a transitional section. A bridge usually comes after the second chorus. Its main purpose is to provide a diversion from the verse and chorus melodies. If you want to hear really good bridge work, listen to Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin brothers. No one does it better. So, when is a bridge a good idea? The first verse, your song needs a new melody with a new chord progression. So that gives you an opportunity to have a new lighting look. If you want an instrumental bridge, that gives you an opportunity perhaps to pull down and let you restore bigger. So bridges work really well there. A bridge, and this is kind of heading towards your question, a bridge is used to build energy also. So this is an opportunity for a new look. For me, when I'm working on this, if I have verse, chorus, then my verse 1 and verse 2 are connected in some way. Let's say they're blue. Verse 1 is little blue, verse 2 is big blue. It allows the audience to connect with something. I've got a chorus there. So my chorus is going to be a new look going to my next verse, and then I have a chorus again, which is connected to the first chorus. So I'm always giving a place for the audience to land and go, oh, I kind of know what they're doing. And each time I do a verse and a chorus, the cues generally are slightly varied, and generally they're building a little bit. So what does this have to do with your question? The bridge into your final chorus permits you to clean the deck with a big look that can morph into even a larger look. It can permit you to push into a completely new look on the outro that's not based on the vocabulary that you've been using for the entire song. You can pull a fast one with a big color change. So the idea is that this idea of verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro is just like reading a play. There's a structure to it. There's a story that's being told. You're giving your audience a chance to move forward, to move back. If you look at the Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals, they're like that. The songs take you someplace, and the book takes you someplace else. Then you go back to a song. Then you go back to the book. So this idea of something big at the end of your song, where are you naturally going with it? Where are you leading the audience, and what is the big payoff? Either stay in your vocabulary, or you take that final bridge and allow you to go someplace the song hasn't gone yet.
I'm not touching that.
Wow, gosh,
excellent,
that was
excellent.
That was
Excellent.
beautiful
Nice
right
sound of
there.
Music and light.
That's about as good as you can say it. Man.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I mean, I've found, at least in my stuff, that, you know, everybody gets writer's block. I definitely get writer's block, that's writer's block. I was going to say cue recorder's block or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Yeah, you said it perfectly. I don't know what to say.
Well, I think, okay, so the question then, Clayton, is what happens when you get inside your own head?
Then it's figuring out how to diffuse that and to take a breath back. Like I was working on a production of Nonsense that was a ton of fun, but I just couldn't, you know, I was getting near the end of the show. If you know the show, you know, that the song Nashville, I was like, when, you know, Sister Mary Amnesia is like, okay, I'm going to go to Nashville and I'm this country singer, right? I was trying to build that and I was like, where am I going to take this? How am I going to keep the look? It just, at least for me, it was really nice to just take a step back and to figure out how to kind of calm myself. But it did take a day. It was kind of inconvenient, but yeah, and I feel like it's finding a way to step back in all situations.
I have a little story to share, not mine, but from a very well-known designer named Luc Lafortune, who did all the early Cirque du Soleils, and he did a workshop at LDI, and he actually discussed this. I think it was around the production of the water show, and he was stuck. And he said, I had no more ideas. I'm sitting in the theater and I got nothing. Like I've tried everything. He felt empty. And so he didn't know what to do. So he went to the bookstore, and this is the story he told, and he bought of course he had all the money he needed, right? And he just bought a huge array of art books, every style, every visual art, and he just brought them back to the tech table, and he just spread them all out open. And when he couldn't think of something, he would just flip through the pages and see things, and that would inspire him. And that broke him out of that. And I thought it was a really interesting, you know, methodology that he created to break it, because, you know, it's a lot of work, right? A lot of different looks, and after a while, what do you draw from? So he looked to other artists, other visual artists for inspiration, and that helped him.
Well, I only have two words responding to this question of writer's block, and that is inspiration shower.
There you go.
Inspiration shower. You know, it'll be fine if you take an inspiration shower. And I don't know if you all remember this, but we had a sponsor that had a portable inspiration shower for the tech table.
I think they're on sale, and they're on sale right now.
And they're on sale in our gift shop. You know, and Stan, you need to give us an update about how the gift shop is going, because we're ready to sell these babies.
I just need an image, Mr. Photoshop.
Okay, well, we're on it. We're on it. Well, we'll send our marketing team.
Okay,
yeah, it's a high-ticket item.
Yes, I'm working on the Patreon site. That's not for public consumption.
How great would that be? I mean, I'm sorry. It already exists.
Absolutely.
It already exists. The shower already exists.
It's a happening
thing.
Because
David, you're breaking a patent. What are you going to get? Are you going to get a suit again?
No. Oh, sorry. No, I thought we were going with the sponsor spot, that it actually exists.
Yeah, it does
already.
Yeah,
it does.
Oh yes. No, we've actually made that sponsor. Yes.
Okay, great. So I have not personally tried that, but I feel like that would be fantastic.
It'll change your life.
Clayton, I'm going to send you an article to read.
Okay.
This is a scientific fact that taking a shower at a certain degree temperature and at a certain water pressure will give you
In the
ideas.
shower. That's a real neurological thing.
That makes so much sense.
Crazy.
I'm gonna send you an article, Clayton, to the Eureka Hunt, which explains the neurology around how this
No,
works.
actually, I feel like I've experienced that in the past. Or
Of course
Of course you have.
Yeah,
Everybody
it's
has.
great.
It's
The problem is that when you're out designing a show and you're at the tech table, how are you going to take a shower when you need, So,
No.
so we came up with this idea where it's a portable shower. It's sort of like this giant capsule you're in, right? It shoots you out, sort of like when Spock came out of the Enterprise, right?
That was called a coffin.
Oh, a coffin? Okay. Okay, there you go. Anyway, they're out in space, right? And it looks like that. It even has a little headset inside of it, just in case you need
what
to
a
keep
keep 'em
your
on
programming.
comms.
You could actually take a shower and have a headset,
Yeah.
talk to your programmer. It's kind of, noisy, but we'll work it out, But it's pretty awesome.
ClearComm Spaceship
Yes,
Edition.
exactly,
Here.
the Spaceship Edition. Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again, you've spent another morning listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website on lighttalk.org and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
No guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
In the event that you do decide to litigate us and this lovely young man, the Snoot Group, with a legal team of Sparks, Burnout, and Chase, will defend us until our retirement funds have really been vacuumed up.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers, +1, coming
Hello.
to you from Long Beach, Gainesville, Calabasas, and the Republic of Texas.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
The Light Talkers, broadcasting questionable Lumen knowledge and a little bit of humor around the world.
So we want to thank Clayton once
Thanks,
again
guys.
for being
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thanks for having me.
Man, you've been awesome.
Clayton, round up some more young
I'm
people.
hoping-
Bring them on down.
I hope
round them up.
I hope more people like decide to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go on the show because I feel like this is awesome. These guys
is.
are great.
It was fun, right? You had a good time, right?
great
And
to
you
have
didn't
you
pick
here,
up any
man.
viruses or diseases and all
Yeah,
good.
that's
right?
saying a lot
Everything-
for us not giving you any viruses or diseases, but there you go. Anyway, we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye from Light
Thanks.
Talk.
Bye.
Toodles.